Just trying to keep everything as up to date as possible. I was kind of maintaining a intergovernmental task list database. Come on over here. I was kind of maintaining. It's me again. Oh, you know what? I gave my staff my login. Hey, Mackenzie. I'm like, that says Jenny. Sorry, Ashley. I didn't know what to do.
Is there a way to change it?
I can rename it.
I'm sure. Okay. This is Mackenzie from our pavement partner. I'm like, oh, look, I'm on twice.
No. Hey, Mackenzie.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. All right, talk again. Mackenzie?
Hey, I'm here.
Okay, I had to figure out which Jenny Honeycutt you were. All right.
I'm this one.
The real Jenny Honeycutt. There's another lawyer in South Carolina named Jenny Honeycutt, and it was so funny because people were like, "You left your firm," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
What do you know? I don't know.
I know.
Well, hopefully Deborah and Eric aren't also Jenny.
I think they are. So everybody has my login. Ashley, you might have to do
there we go.
A couple times. Yay. Mackenzie, thanks so much for emailing me the other day. Such great
info. Of course,
yeah.
Anytime.
And Ashley, I didn't see Francis email any public comments that had been sent in, so I guess there was nothing.
I think he's either going to be at home or in his office.
Oh.
All right, so you were unmuted now.
Okay. Thanks.
Hey, Troy.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
Pretty good. It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. Everybody's all separated, but this makes it so much more accessible for people. So I like to be able to at least see each other this way. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. How was your holiday?
It was nice. It was fast, it seemed like.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, you're right about that. It was fast.
Hey, Mayor. Hey, Ross.
How are you, Jenny? Good to see you.
Good. Doing great.
How's everything going?
It's going. This year is ramping up fast. It was kind of like a slow start, and all of a sudden it went.
Right. It's here.
It is. Oh, good. Leslie made it on, Ashley, so I will recognize her in public comment first. So, Ross, I took it up. I never wore my earphones. I was trying to use the computer microphone. It did not work. So here I have my fancy headset.
Oh, nice. Nice. It's, I had a deposition today on Zoom, and I think I had these things in my ear for like 8 hours straight. I hope it's safe. I hope Apple's products testing this stuff. Otherwise, it's gonna be sad.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, welcome. Oh, there's Garrett.
You just had to punch a button a whole bunch of times to get here.
Yeah, occasionally. Hey, Mr. Milliken, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? Happy New Year.
Doing well. Happy new-ish year to you as well.
Yeah.
I believe we are expecting at least, I got a confirmation from Senator Sen, so give a couple minutes for everybody to get on.
Which button do I push to turn my sound off?
Alan, if you scroll over the screen, I think there's a mute button on the far left bottom corner. I'm not sure what kind of device you're using.
You're right. I found it.
Okay. Oh, there's Spencer. Hey, Representative Wetmore, can you hear us?
I can, yeah. Hey,
Welcome.
thank you so much.
Hey, Kathy.
Hey, Jenny.
How are you?
Okay. How are the kids?
Doing great. My son's back at Clemson, and one of them's off in North Carolina, and baby's upstairs. So,
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, my empty nester, my son finally left at the age of 30.
oh wow.
Just want to give you a warning. Boys linger too long.
I will make a note.
Yeah. But and funny thing was, he moved out in February, right before we had the lockdown, so I didn't have to worry about having a young person in the thing. But he still brings me his laundry. So I get to see him about once a week.
Awesome. Let's see. I'm going to forward Senator Campson the link again.
Spencer, how are you liking the new job?
Everything's going well. So, it's been sort of abbreviated with the back and forth from Columbia. So I missed the drainage meeting last week because I was still on the road back. So still getting used to the schedule, but I'm making it work and we'll figure it out.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to get together with this group too, though. This is I look forward to this one. So let's see.
Hey, Cynthia, how are you? Can you hear me, Cynthia? I don't know that I can't hear you.
Hi, everyone. Can y'all hear me?
Hi, Ms. Johnson. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. Okay.
Oh, there's Senator Campson. And Ashley, you can change his login as well. That's what happens when I share my login.
I doubt I'll be confused with you.
Can you guys hear me now?
I can, Cynthia. Thank you.
Of course. Well, it was just because I'm like computer illiterate, I guess. So I had to go back into my settings and turn on my microphone.
And Ashley, I think Matt Fountain and Eric are in the attendee pool, as well as Devry, if it's possible to bring them over. I see Mark Johnson in there as well as Kate Benjamin.
I had kind of told staff I would leave them as attendees until they came up on the agenda, but I can certainly go ahead and promote
No, that's
them.
perfect. I just wanted, I didn't want to, if I was supposed to have sent them a link and I forgot, I wanted to make sure. And then I'm going to resend the link to Senator Sin real quick. But we can go ahead and get started in just a second.
Thank you for the flag.
Absolutely. We got to have a flag to say our pledge to. All right. I think we have the majority of those who responded that they would be attending, so we can go ahead and get started. Again, I'm Jenny Honeycutt. We'll begin with a call to order in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody would say the pledge with me. Ross, could you lead us?
Oh, I'll be honored to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Here's what I'd like to do. If we could start at the state level and make introductions as we go around, we'll go with our state senators, Representative Wetmore, and then our city government officials, county, then city, and then town, and then PSD. So we can start with you, Senator Campson.
I'm Senator Chip Campson, and we've just started a new legislative session last week. The Senate is only going to meet one day this week. We're meeting tomorrow, so I have to be in Columbia at 10 o'clock in the morning. And looking forward to a productive legislative session, brand new General Assembly.
And Sandy, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, had to find the link. Yeah, I'm Sandy Sin, Senate 41. Chip and Senator Campson and I have adjoining districts, and I too am looking forward to 4 more years and to putting our heads together and moving things forward for our low country.
Spencer?
Hey, I'm Spencer Wetmore, House District 115, which is the better part, almost all of James Island. And if it's not your district, don't worry about that. You can still call me anyway. Just, looking forward to working together. We've already working with Senator Campson, Senator Sen, Councilmember Honeycutt, and everybody on the call. So thank you all, and thanks for having us tonight.
And Ms. Johnson.
Oh, good evening, everyone. I'm Anna Johnson, representative on Charleston County District 8. And I hope everybody had a happy new year so far.
And I'm Jenny Honeycutt from County Council District 9. Our city council members, I'll start with you, Ross.
Thanks, Councilwoman Honeycutt. I'm Ross Appel. I'm the Charleston City Council member for District 11, which encompasses what I like to say is a shorthand, the oldest neighborhoods in James Island. So Riverland Terrace, the country clubs, and Bishop Gadsden and some other areas. But of course, we all know who the real city council member for James Island is. So maybe we'll turn it over to her next.
Carol?
Thank you. I'm Carol Jackson. Ross is being way too generous. When I ran for my office of District 12, I did say that all of James Island would be my concern, and I've tried to live into that. My district, the district that surrounds the town, is a checkerboard with town neighbors. My next door neighbor lives in the town. So I am very grateful that we've developed an amazing working relationship with all of our colleagues, and I'm privileged to be on this Environmental Government Council. Thank you.
Excellent. And Mayor Woolsey, you want to start with the town council members?
Well, yes, I'm Bill Woolsey, Mayor of the town of James Island. Thank you. Thank you, Jen.
Garrett?
Hi, I'm Garrett Milliken. I'm a councilman with the town of James Island.
Troy?
Hi, I'm Troy Mullinax, James Island Town Councilman and Mayor Pro Tem.
Excellent. Cynthia?
Hi, I'm Cynthia Mignano. I'm a town council member as well.
Excellent. Do we have Dan Bowles on? Just wanted to give him a chance if I can't see him. We can go to the PSD now. Why don't we start with Kathy and Susan and then Alan?
I'm Kathy Woolsey, and I'm just the temporary chairman of the PSD until we have elections next week.
Susan?
Hi. Hello, everybody. I'm Susan Milliken, James Island Public Service District Commission, newly elected commissioner.
And then Alan and Brenda, I saw you too, although I can't see you. There you are on my screen. Alan Laughlin, you got a, hey, Brenda.
Yes. Hi, how are you? I'm Brenda Grant, newly elected commissioner here on James Island, PSD.
Well, welcome. It's great to have you and Susan with us. And then Alan, you want to take it off mute?
Sure, why not? I'm Alan Laughlin. I'm also a PSD commissioner.
Excellent. Anybody else that we have on? Wonderful. We have our first public comment is going to be Leslie Scarden. She is with the League of Women Voters and just wanted to bring to our attention some of the issues that they're working on right now. And we will then move into any other public comment. If you would raise your hand in the attendee feature, we can recognize you. Leslie, I think you're on now.
Oh, great. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. Good evening. Nice to see a lot of familiar faces on the screen. So I am here tonight on behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Charleston area. I'm on the board and the Director of Good Government and Ethics. Thank you very much, Councilwoman Honeycutt, for inviting me to speak tonight. Hopefully, as many of you know, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. We focus a lot on voter registration and voter education. I think many of you on the screen have participated in the candidate forums or filled out the Vote 411 surveys where there's more access to information about who's running, how to vote, where to vote. This evening, I'll talk a little bit about our good government work and specifically redistricting. So as the chair of Good Government and Ethics, we're really focusing on voting rights, dark money, campaign finance reform, and then also redistricting. And the League actually has a statewide redistricting working group. We have some exciting announcements coming up that I'll give you all a preview of tonight. But I'm sure as many of you know, redistricting is vitally important to a fair and functioning democracy. And local leagues across the state are interested in having maps that work for the voters. We believe elections should be decided in the voting booth, not in map rooms. I want to make sure that we have competitive and fair elections where we can hold our elected officials accountable and also have the best people to represent us. So with our statewide redistricting working group, we're really excited. We will be releasing maps for the congressional districts for state Senate and the state House once that census data comes out. We believe we'll get the census data in April or May, and there will likely be a special session of the legislature to draw the maps, but we will be working to release our version of what those look like with criteria that we are working on right now. We'll also be releasing 2010 state Senate maps, so looking at the data from 2010 and looking at what the state Senate maps would look like based on different criteria that would be used. And so you can compare districts to what we have for the past decade and what that could look like with different criteria. And as part of all that, of course, we'll be releasing criteria that we hope the legislature will consider in the use of their maps. I guess the call to action tonight would be if any of you are interested and looking at local redistricting on the city council level, county council level, of course, at the state house, state senate level. We're absolutely here to be a resource. If anyone would like more information, we're happy to do a more formal presentation about our efforts and the process. We also have a blog that we will be updating. It's votersrule2020.blog. And Councilwoman Honeycutt, I can send that to you if there's information that you want to disperse afterwards. But we'll have a couple more announcements coming next week on that criteria and our next steps. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. And if anyone's interested in learning more, please do let us know.
Excellent. Thanks so much for joining us, Leslie. And then there is another public comment from a phone number. So I don't know if you're 209-0722. Ms. Callahan will let you in.
This is actually Dave Schaefer, the new JIPSD district manager.
Hey, Dave, how are you? Is he going to speak, or is he just raising his hand to say hello?
Yeah, I'm trying to, let's see.
Good evening, everybody.
Here he is.
Oh, there we go. Hey,
Dave Schaefer. I am my 8th week as district manager for the PSD, and I look forward to working with everybody and this group and understanding all of the intergovernmental relationships on James Island. So thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Welcome, Dave. The next, we will move into approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
I'll get that from Carol. Do I have a second? Kathy? All right. Any discussion, corrections? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. On to old business. So there were a few updates, and we committed to basically maintaining a task list of items similar to what Senator Sin. Alan, did you have a question?
I have a little bit of a problem. It sounds like everybody's speaking from 1,000 leagues into the sea. Is it mine only, or is this
I will say I'm having trouble hearing you, Alan, but for everybody who's just listening and not speaking right now, if you would put it on mute, I think that may help. And I will try. I kind of hear that feedback too now, Alan, that you said it. But one of the items that we had on that task list that we were maintaining was the update of the general maintenance permits. And so I wanted to provide a brief update on where we have come since then. And also, Ashley, if you could go ahead and line up Eric Adams to speak on this. Blair Williams with DHEC couldn't be with us tonight, but I have been in communication with him. We had a meeting with Senator Sin and Senator Campson since our last convening, and we have made a lot of progress. So they're still working on the general maintenance permit, but even more importantly, DHEC has now come down twice to do inspections of outfalls that can be considered maintenance. That is, DHEC will approve the work to be done without going through a permit process, which is really huge for us because usually it's the permitting that ties things up. And so I wanted to give Eric just a moment to update us briefly on his communication with DHEC and Blair's approval of those outfalls.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Honeycutt. We actually met with Blair again today and with Tracy with the Army Corps of Engineers. They are both working on similar maintenance permits. Tracy gave an update that they hope to wrap theirs up towards the end of February, March. It, of course, will then have to go through some legal review on their end before it is approved, but they're continuing to push that general permit forward. And in the meantime, as you mentioned, we have been meeting with Blair with OCRM in the field to define limits of some of the canals, specifically on James Island, where they will allow us to maintain those through just a simple request form. So we're trying to define what those limits are that they will allow. Once we know that, we'll kind of go from there on working out work plans from our end on the maintenance side.
Excellent. Senator Sin or Senator Campson, did either of you want to add to that subject? I know you guys have worked hard on this.
Yeah, I would say, this is Senator Campson, I would say Eric, I want you to keep us abreast if you feel like you're running into some roadblocks that are not reasonable. I want you to keep us abreast of that. And we did have a good meeting with Blair, and I think we will have a general permit that provides certainly more relief than we have right now. I do believe that. Now, whether they're going to go as far as we'd like them to go is another question. But when in that meeting we had with them, I made the point that if the appearance of Spartina grass in a ditch means you can't clean it out, what you're doing is issuing a death sentence for all Spartina grass, if that's what you want. If you want saltwater vegetation, it's really better to allow us to clean out those outfalls there on a periodic basis, because basically they're punishing us for not being perfect in the way that we execute cleaning out outfalls with the way the current regulations are being applied. And that is, if we let some Spartina grass appear in some of these ditches and outfalls, then we can't clean them out. And it's better to really just say, and I think they were open to this, to say an interval, give us an interval where it's a safe harbor to clean out an outfall, whether it's a 5-year interval, a 7-year interval. Within that time period, whether there's Spartina grass there or not, we can clean it out. And they seemed amicable to that. And as long as we knew what those timeframes were, that's something that could be workable on our side. And we wouldn't have to go get individual permits when some Spartina grass shows up in the ditch, which is going to happen if, the way we've been operating thus far. So I think they're open to that. And that's one important element that I think we may see in that general permit, or we're working towards anyway.
Excellent. Sandy, did you have anything to add?
Sure, and thank you, Senator Campson. Actually, when Chip made that point about the Spartina grass, I think that hit home with the folks who were there, and they got the point that we were all serious about this now. I have been working on it for 3+ years, and Senator Campson even longer, and it's time that they understand that we need to take some action on this. I did not like the fact that OCRM said that they could come down and look at all 600 of our outfalls and things of that nature, like it was going to be an easy task, or that they were willing to come on out and just take a look at them when DHEC is so super busy. And this is one of the reasons that currently, unless things change, I am going to be supportive of breaking up that agency. I don't really understand how back in the day, environmental control and health got mixed up. I mean, we've got the same director dealing with outfall cleanouts that's dealing with COVID-19 right now. So I'm just ready for them to move this on. It's been a long time coming. And I think with all of us meeting together, I think they understand that we want to see some action soon.
Excellent. Thank you both so much for your work in this area. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this? Carol, did you have anything?
No, I just salute our senators. I know that the city has been, basically a champion at the bit to be able to have this kind of permit, because we have a lot of over-silted outfalls that, and everyone knows that if you don't clean there, then you can't solve the drainage problems. So we are ready and willing to support you. I know we put in, very detailed comments along with the county. So I'm really glad that we've stayed joined at the hip with our James Island stakeholder partners. And so you go, senators. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Carol.
Kathy?
Where were the 2 outfalls that they looked at?
Eric can state specifically, and I believe it was more than 2.
Oh.
There were 10 the county submitted.
Yeah, we submitted 10 specifically on James Island, the ones we were looking at with Blair to see where we could they would allow maintenance were over on Central Park by the EME apartments there, that section of man-made ditch. Also a section of ditch in Riverland Terrace area, an outfall that kind of parallels Woodland Shores Road as well, and then an outfall over in the Oyster Point area.
Well, you know, I spend a lot of time out in the marsh, and put these people in an airplane and show them we have thousands of acres of Spartina, and marsh is the most resilient, our Spartina is most resilient plant on the planet. I've watched it come back and come back, and I just don't understand. We're talking about probably maybe a half a mile square of Spartina that we might kill, and it'll come back immediately. I was at the horticulture city of Charleston's office years ago, right after they built the aquarium, and we got a phone call came in, and they wanted to replant the Spartina around the aquarium after construction. And as soon as she hung up the phone, we both just died laughing. Our plan was to do nothing, it would come, because that's about what happened. You don't have to plant Spartina, it'll come. But anyway, I don't sound like, but.
Well, and I think that's the point that Senator Campson was making with the safe harbor provision. These drainage basins, you can't be expected to clean the outfalls every year, and Spartina can grow back in a year. And you know, by definition, these environmental organizations that are there to protect the environment consider that naturalizing. So once the Spartina grass grows, then you have other organisms that live in the Spartina grass and all the other stuff that comes along with it. And so we just made it clear, actually Senator Campson made it clear that, look, we understand these areas are going to naturalize, but we want them to in between clean outs, because we don't want to just completely strip out that for extended periods of time. And so they understood that, and I think they are coming around, and they're broadening, at least for our interpretation, their definition of what maintenance is, so that we can go in and do what needs to be done to protect the homes around there from flooding. Because when the outfall gets full, none of the drainage system works. And so this is why this has been such a major issue. So we are making progress. Next, I want
to. But Jenny, just go ahead. Go ahead. My senior senator, Chip, you go ahead.
The other point is this that I made to them, and I think it resonated, but it's just pure common sense, that the truth is having outfalls that don't work are the worst possible things you can do for the Spartina grass that matters. And that's the Spartina grass that's out there in the expansive marsh ecosystem. Because when you don't have a drainage system that works, what happens? You get flooding everywhere. What happens when you flood streets? You mobilize petroleum products, oil, gasoline, pesticides, herbicides that we use on our lawns. You mobilize all of that stuff and it goes out into the marsh. And so it's really, this is not a scientific, it's not a scientific study I'm citing, but it's intuitively clear that you don't have the outfalls cleaned out, you get more flooding, and that water is going to ultimately drain out into the ecosystem that we really should care about, and that's the expansive ecosystem, not the 3 foot wide or 5 foot wide ditch ecosystem with the Spartina grass. Sacrifice that in order to get the water off of the highland, and you don't get all those pollutants into the marsh ecosystem.
Right. And he did a great job of explaining that when we had the folks from OCARM there. But we also were shown some examples. I can't remember if it was by the county or city or whom, but of ditches that to me were clearly ditches. These were not undefined ditches. And they could not make a judgment call just from looking at that as to whether we would have to pay mitigation for clearing that out. And so with respect to mitigation, that's taking money out of one governmental pocket into the other. And I feel as though that's something that's why we need to get it in writing, a full understanding of what clean out is.
And saltwater mitigation is exorbitant. The price it's $60,000 for a quarter an acre, something like that. It's just not something that we can actually afford to do.
Ross?
Thank you, Councilwoman Honeycutt. And I know all of our time's limited here tonight, and we're still pretty high up on the agenda, but I just have to say thank you to our senators and to yourself, Jenny. I've seen the work you've done on this issue, our staff, Eric and Matt on our side. Pound for pound, dollar for dollar, this is the best thing we can do to move the needle on stormwater and flooding in the most places around the city of Charleston. I'll use this example and give Senator Sen a shout out. The outfall in South Windermere Shopping Center. I mean, really, before I even got elected, Senator Sen was instrumental in getting the red tape cleared to do some limited outfall clearing in that location. And anecdotally, I can tell you that the neighbors and the businesses in the South Windermere Shopping Center, which is the heart of my district, I mean, it has made a difference. It has made a difference. And this is an example of some common sense solutions, eliminating over burdensome bureaucratic red tape. There's nobody on this call that doesn't value and appreciate the environment, that isn't fond of fishing and, doing all the wildlife, all the stuff we all cherish. But, we're the low country. We've got stormwater and flooding problems, and we have to find a way to maintain our systems, which especially in the older parts of the city, aren't functioning even at full capacity. So when they're degraded by silting and some of these other problems, you're just in a completely untenable situation. So I am just so excited to hear about the positive progress on this issue. I think, this is not, tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars on an infrastructure project for stormwater like we see on the peninsula. This is simply eliminating some bureaucracy to allow guys with shovels to clean out a pipe. I mean, this is simple, boring, easy stuff. It's way too complicated for what it is. And I just really applaud this effort. I think it's a great effort. And anything we can do with the city of Charleston to help, we're happy to do it. And just very, very happy to see this positive progress. Thank y'all.
Thanks,
On that note, we will move on the agenda so we can get out of our old business. But I did want to give our transportation department, Devery's on the phone, an opportunity to just give a few updates on the James Island intersection improvements. Ashley, is she unmuted?
Yes, she is joining right now.
Got it.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I sent Ashley a list of 15 projects, transportation projects that we're working on. If y'all have any questions, I don't know if she could share that with you. I wasn't going to touch on all of them. I was going to touch on the one y'all probably get a lot of phone calls or questions about. And before I get started, I want to remind everyone that we did send out a letter for 2022 allocation transportation projects, and we've asked for those to be in February. If there's a project that the city and town or the city and the county want to join and ask for, that does help with the scoring as far as public support. So keep that in mind. And again, those are due in February. So get those in and talk about what you want to submit for that. The first one I'll touch on is the Camp Road sidewalk. That project, we got federal funds for that. And we got all the permits except for the stormwater permit from the city. And it's a little bit challenging because that area already floods kind of bad. So we have to get a drainage easement, and we're going to work with the St. James Episcopal Church in efforts to hopefully get a drainage easement so we can take that one to construction. The next one I have that y'all probably get a lot of questions about is the Central Park culvert replacement. That's the installation of a culvert underneath the James Island Creek. Our staff just looked at the RFQs, the request for qualifications, and they will be taking that to council for approval to begin negotiations for that project in February. The next large one that I have that we get questions a lot about is the Central Park and Riverland Drive intersection improvements. Council did approve for us to move forward with the elongated roundabout. So we are going to progress with final plans for that project and probably begin right-of-way acquisition in late spring. And we anticipate that it'll take about a year to get the permit. So that one should begin in the third quarter of 2022. The next large project we have on here that y'all probably get a lot of questions about is the Folly Road Bike and Pedestrian Improvement Project. We just submitted 90% plans for review. We got very few comments, even Tool the Rethink Folly engineer looked at them. We didn't get very many comments, so that's a good thing. I called the DOT earlier this week and they said that they would get us a maintenance agreement in the next 2 weeks. So I will get that to the city and town to sign for the green bike lanes. The next one that I have on here is the Fort Johnson and Secessionville Road intersection improvements. We are developing construction plans for that one. There is a water main that has to be relocated. That's going to cost about $1.5 million. So we are working with CWS on that. And because of that, that one will not begin until 2022. And then the last really hot item one that we get a lot of questions about is the Maybank Highway and Woodland Shores Road Complete Street Project. That started off as a Maybank mid-block crossing at the poorhouse in Riverland Terrace, and also an 8-foot sidewalk along Woodland Shores. We were able to combine those two projects and actually do a multi-use path on Maybank too, and get federal funds to make that all happen. So we are working with the DOT to get the participation agreement underway, and we did have a scoping meeting with them today. And with that, if you have any questions, let me know. And I also have Mackenzie Kelly here. She's gonna briefly touch on resurfacing projects on James Island.
Devery, this is Mayor Woolsey. Could you speak a bit about the camp and Fort Johnson projects? Where are we on that?
Camp and Fort Johnson, we are, our consultant is working on utility coordination, and I hope to have something to the public within the next 3 months on that project. The utilities are a little bit challenging, and we do have a property owner that is opposed to the project. So we're trying to minimize right-of-way impacts as much as possible for her. As well as there are a lot of grand trees in the area that we are doing everything we can so we don't have to remove them. So that project is a little challenging, but I do think we will have something here soon to present to you all.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Kenzie?
Mackenzie, are you there? I think she was on the initial one, and then she got off, and I thought she joined the one that you had, Ashley, but
she did. She has her hand raised. I think
okay.
Ashley's getting her in.
Okay.
There she is.
Okay, I think you can hear me now. Okay, so quick overview. We are currently finishing up our CTC 2020 resurfacing plan. We have just a quick going down the line. I won't go road by road, but neighborhood wise, Riverfront, we are completed in there with mainline paving. Rainbow and Berclair, we are planning to start speed hump install tomorrow. I know they're calling for rain Friday, so it might get expanded into next week. Seaside Plantation, we have finished the back part of the neighborhood, closer to Sea Eagle and the roads back there. And starting next week, we'll be doing the front part of the neighborhood, the roads off of Lakefront and Ellison. Next map is Linwood. We are currently in there paving and doing driveways, concrete and asphalt. We're hoping to be finished this week, and we are aware that there's a crossline pipe issue, so we might have to come back to repair that. And then finally, the Lawton Bluff area, we are completed paving in there. And we still are planning to install the double yellow line as requested from the town and agreed by the city between Harborview and Dills Bluff. So that should be installed shortly. On your right, you will see Rejuvenator. This is a pavement preservation technique, a sealant on the road. And those are roads that we recently treated the past few months. So these are roads that were paved either 3 years ago or it's a retreatment and they were originally paved 8 years ago. We're right now finishing developing our 2021 resurfacing list. We hope to have the final list in the next couple months. So if you have any questions on that, please feel free to email me. And then also on our website, we have a full list of all of our past and present plans.
have a question. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I was trying to get your attention in reference to Mr. Tomer's report for Secessionville and Fort Johnson Road.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you mentioned that there was $1 million that cost for something. I didn't get that clearly.
Yeah, it's a water relocation. It's a water main that feeds actually the islands. From my understanding, it even feeds, I believe they said it even feeds Kiowa and Seabrook. It's going to cost $1.5 million for them to relocate that water line. And there's a 4% rule. We have worked with the DOT. They're going to allow for the sewer to stay, so we don't have to move that, but we can't keep the water main where it is in order to make those improvements. So CWS will be paying for the majority of that, but we will be responsible for 4% of that, up to a certain amount.
So is that cost already in the initial cost for the intersection improvement?
Yes, ma'am. We account for all that when we put together our estimates.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Kara.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Ms. McKenzie. I think she has been a really good partner to the jurisdictions that populate James Island in terms of communication and responsiveness. And I know that my constituents in particular have been very well served by her dedication to keeping us abreast of what's going on. So I just wanted to give her a high five. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, any other questions on that? We'll move on just to a couple of quick updates. And I think Mr. Benjamin's on the line. Ashley, if we could make sure that we can hear him, but we were waiting on the school district to do a study at the new middle school, and the Camp and Folly light was going to be addressed after that. So I will let Keith briefly discuss that. You're on mute though. There you go.
Yeah, they had me completely rejoined, so I missed your introduction, but good to see everybody. Good evening. So just 2 seconds of background. The Camp Road Middle School project was a project that was reviewed by the county. However, throughout the process, especially since even though the intersection of Camp and Folly is not in the city, we have it as a part of our signal maintenance agreement. And so it is within our responsibility for maintenance and operation of that intersection. Part of the build out of that school was a traffic impact analysis that every major development is supposed to do, and suggestions for mitigation. That mitigation did not include significant change to the Camp and Folly Road from signal phasing perspective, but it did have a suggestion of looking at the timing aspect. That study that they conducted, which was from July 2018, didn't get into the city's hands until January 8th of this year. So we just got that study from them to be able to take a look at that and see if there's something that needs to be changed at that intersection. Because this was a mitigation study for that project, as any other development, technically that developer should be addressing that mitigation if there's a cost associated with it. We have not made a determination if there's a cost associated with it or if it's just a simple change in timing. The biggest concern that we have as a city is the amount of vehicular traffic that's on Folly, especially at morning peak hour in comparison to Camp Road, and whether or not that would adversely affect the corridor. And so those are the pieces that we're just trying to take a look at, see what makes sense, get ourselves into the study. Thankfully, the engineer who did the traffic impact analysis happens to be one of our on-call firms, so we have a relationship there already and spoken to her a couple of times as well. So don't have anything to report on that yet, but just want to give the background as it's yet again one of those projects that has a number of different entities involved and to be able to make it work.
Thank you, Keith. And with regard to Folly, Fort Johnson and Folly, which is over there by the new Publix. It's my understanding that is a DOT maintained light, and that Mr. Johnson is waiting on the Publix traffic study, and their traffic analysis is not due until their build out is complete. And I don't believe that they have their final occupancy done, so don't think they've done that study yet, but we are continuing to monitor and follow up with Mr. Johnson to make sure they do that, so that we can properly address the light issues that have come up, particularly the left turn arrow issue. So that's where that
one
stands.
piece, just a quick update on that, if you don't mind, Chair. Josh and I spoke last night and this morning. He didn't get the invite to the meeting, so if you all want him to be a part of it, definitely include him in those invites. He spoke to them today, he's expecting to be able to get that updated study in February. And that'll take some time for him to take a look at the analysis there. He did preempt conversation and say that that study might not say what folk might prefer in terms of what should be done there. But he did say that he contacted them and is expecting to hear back from them in February.
Well, thank you. And yes, Keith, I guess you were included in the communication that I was having with Josh. It's a constant and steady stream of people complaining about both the Camp Road and Folly intersection and the one right there at Publix. So even if you cannot really reconcile the morning traffic and how that might impact Folly Road on the Camp Road issue when people are trying to go to school, could we at least maybe look a little faster at the afternoon? Because that's when even the school crossing guards and all the parents and everybody seem to complain. But it's the morning traffic at Publix and Folly Road that people are complaining. So maybe we can kind of piecemeal it, or is that not possible?
Like I said, on the camp one, we just got this, and we need to take a look at it and see if it's something that's just a simple timing situation to try to finagle, or whether or not it's going to require additional looking at from SCDOT stipulations. So I don't have an answer for you on that yet. But the Bill Engineering did this. Jennifer and I talk almost at least once a week anyway on projects, so we're already connected to take a look and see what needs to happen there. I just wanted to be upfront with you that if there's costs that are associated from a study perspective that we need to follow up on, acknowledging that the school was the one who did this traffic impact analysis and they have to mitigate it, we'll be coming back to the school district to make that address. If it's something that's just simply about pulling some switches on timing, then that's within our wherewithal to go ahead and get done. With regards
Well,
to
understood. And would the same be with Publix? Because quite frankly, I think that was part of the contract, right?
Yes, so that would be if it is shown in the say that there's, again, same thing with the traffic. It's the same thing. It would be the responsibility of that developing entity. DOT definitely would be holding them accountable to that.
Okay, thank you.
But it sounds like by our April meeting that we should have something final for each of those intersections. So we'll keep that on the task list. And I'm sorry, Cynthia, did you have a question?
I do, because as far as Folly Road and Fort Johnson go, before Publix was built there, the light was different. And then once Publix was built, they changed the turn lane light for that intersection. So it's more prohibitive for the people coming from Fort Johnson from the high school to turn left to go to Folly Beach after they started the Publix development. So my question is, since they've changed it to be more difficult for people to use that left-hand turn lane, why are we waiting for a study from Publix when they could have just left it the same? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this before. And again,
We have.
I think the issue is that they are doing their traffic study because they can't just change it back. Because I think we asked that the last time, or the initial time this came up. And so the instruction was we have to wait until their study comes back on the use of that intersection, as opposed to using the Publix exit that's on Folly Road. So the good news is that by April, we should have an answer.
Well, that's good. And as far as like the Camp Road and Folly intersection goes, the middle school had been moved to the other side of Camp Road. And then when we redeveloped that intersection, excuse me, then we redeveloped that intersection, and then the middle school is moved back across the road, and they changed the lighting times. So that, I think, is a big problem with that intersection, in my opinion. Just putting it out there just so everybody can hear it.
Great. Well, again, Keith, we'll look forward to the update in April. Next on the list is there's some new business. I wanted to give the mayor an opportunity to address some of what's going on the island. So Mayor Woolsey, I will turn it over to you for an update on our new dedicated deputy and some of the redevelopment efforts going on.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Jenny. The town of James Island has signed a contract with Charleston County Sheriff's Office, and we now have a deputy that works full-time for the town. For many years now, we've had the Island Sheriff's Patrol, and we've had many part-time deputies providing extra law enforcement on James Island in the town. And now we have a deputy who works for us directly. I believe Deputy King is here, and I would just like him to introduce him and let him say a few words and introduce himself.
Hey, Deputy King, we'll turn it to you.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay? My name's Chris King. I'm Deputy of Charleston County. I am now assigned to the town of James Island permanently. I work during the day, Monday through Friday. Sometimes I stay over. I work till 10:30 and work a little bit longer, just extra patrols and when calls are stacking up. I've been in law enforcement for quite some time now. People say I look like a baby, but I'm a lot older than I look. I started as a cop in Ohio, and I transferred down here. I know another Ohio transplant, but I'm a good one. I've been with Charleston County now for 3.5 years. I love this agency. I love everything about Charleston, and I particularly love the James Island community because they engage with us a lot. They give us a lot of good intel, information, and they're genuinely happy to see and talk to us, and that makes me feel good. So I've spent a lot of my time since I've been assigned to the town permanently, going and doing some community outreach, seeing what people's concerns are, with whether it's speeders or stop sign violators, you name it. I've talked to a lot of people. I've been giving out my business card a lot so people can have direct contact with me about small issues that they want to see handled. So I get about 15 to 20 emails, every single day from different people. But I really enjoy the assignment since I've taken it. It's been very rewarding, and I'm very happy to be there. And I hope the residents are happy with the decision to put a permanent deputy as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight and introducing yourself, and we look forward to seeing you around. And of course, all of us are available anytime, so we'll make sure you have our contact information and appreciate your service to the community.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Honeycutt, can you hear me? Councilwoman Honeycutt?
I can. I don't know who it is speaking, though.
This is Sergeant James, who he coordinates
Sergeant
the Island
James.
Sheriff's Patrol.
Yeah, if I could figure out how to get my my video working, I guess, I don't know, there's probably a special button on there I'm not hitting. But I just want to tell you that, and for those of y'all don't know me, I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 22 years. I'm a sergeant, and I've been in charge of the town of James Island, Island Patrol since 4 or 5 times that we were trying to get it permanently there. And it is great to have Chris, and he's very humble. And I'll tell you, there was a lot of vetting to actually to get Chris out there, because we have over 30 deputies that work in their off time. And the town realized that we needed some help to assist with traffic complaints, periodic upticks in crime, and building more relationships. And for those of y'all maybe know me, I'm a get out of your car and know your community type public servant. And, there's no way we can do this job effectively without the help and knowing your community. And the community of James Island is different than anywhere else that we've ever had in the town, or in the county. It's not like anywhere else. There's a lot of people that are very pro-police, but we also have had a lot of uptick in crime that we've seen recently. And right now we've had a better relationship, and I have, with the city of Charleston Police Department than I've ever had before. And a lot of this is just due to, some of it's just reaching out. And if y'all know Councilwoman Ms. Johnson, she's very involved with James Island, and we're always trying to figure out how to make things better. But we have solved a lot of the major crime that's over there with the help of the town, And I can tell you, finding Chris was something that he got vetted through for about 50 deputies that were interested in this position. I was honored to be asked to do it, but unfortunately, my supervisor role, I wasn't able to do it full time. And Chris also is fluent in Spanish. Although we don't have a large Hispanic population over there, we know that helps anywhere that you go. And Chris has been here about 3.5 years, and I'm going to tell you, he's balanced, dedicated, and community oriented. And this is going to be great for years to come. And I just can't tell you that it's nice for me to have a peace of mind to know that he's the right guy. He also has been credited with saving a life recently on the town of James Island. The town of James Island a few months ago, and he'll be recognized at annual awards. But he actually saved someone's life that was overdosing, and brought them back. Without him, they would have definitely passed away. So thank you, Chris, for all you do for me, for the town of James Island, for the citizens, for the senators that are on here. There's a lot of VIPs on here, the mayor, the senators, councilmen, councilwomen. And so we appreciate you.
Thank you, Sean.
My honor.
Yes, Sergeant
Thank
James.
you very much.
Thank you so much.
May I ask him a question, please?
Yes.
Sergeant Phillips, so how many
I got my video working.
Okay.
Sergeant James, did you call me Sergeant Phillips?
There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm better looking than Sergeant Phillips.
I talked to him so much, I guess.
How do you not know Sean James's voice or anything else? I've heard it 1,000 times.
All right, Sergeant James, I'm sorry. So totally, how many patrol cars do you think, can you tell me, that we have on James Island at a time?
Yeah, so it kind of varies, and I kind of look at the kind of uptick in crime. So normally a patrol squad has, for James and Johns Island, only has 4 to 5 deputies for all of James and Johns Island. So as you see, answering calls, working recs, that's very thin. I have 37 right now, and then I kind of rotate, and we have a budget, obviously, that town of James Island uses, but I kind of move them. Obviously, I'm using their off time. So these guys are off, and I say, okay, listen, this is Friday, Saturday night, or this is Mondays. This is what kind of the crime where we're seeing it, burglaries, break-ins, things of that nature. For instance, we've had two homicides recently. One was in the city of Charleston, but we own it. If it's in the city, it's in the county. If it's in the county, it's still got to do with the city. And so what we do is I look at the schedule and I look at what I have available. And sometimes I'll have 3 or 4 working at night at one time, concentrating on an area. Sometimes during the day, we got traffic complaints we're concentrating on. So we've had a really good balance. And we know who the players are, whether or not they're breaking into cars, whether or not they're even domestic violence, whatever it is. We know the players. And that's the big thing, Ms. Johnson, is knowing who we're dealing with. And Councilwoman Johnson, I tell you, this is very personal to me. So I give my personal cell phone number out to everybody. They got my personal cell phone number 24 hours a day. My wife's not a fan of that, but she still keeps me around. So I'm fortunate to say that. But this is something that's going to get better. Sheriff Graziano just got elected. She is huge into community policing. I'm not saying that we did community policing before, but this is something where we're going to go in a different direction in some ways, and it's going to get better in a lot of ways. We can always improve. It's always nice to have a different set of eyes on things. And I'm telling you, that's one of the things, is having boots on the ground. If you don't know your community and a cop drives by and they're in a car and they don't stop to say hello and introduce themselves, we're already behind the power curve. We're already behind the 8 ball. And that's where we got to get out ahead of things. And that's why I'm here.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Sergeant James, for being here tonight and for all that you do. You're an incredible public servant. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Mayor Woolsey, I'll let you continue with the redevelopment in the Cultural Arts Center.
Well, I believe that I was going to ask Ashley to speak a bit about the what's going on at the corner of Camp and Folly, the development there where the subway is still, and then so please, Ashley, would you discuss that?
Yes. So right now we have Chase Bank that has submitted an application for redeveloping that corner. They're under site plan review as well as stormwater plan review. We've also, with the developer and also working with CARTA, really trying to get a bus pull-out lane there, like we have at Walgreens, on our easement that the town owns on that parcel.
Great. Mayor, how about the Arts
And then,
Center.
yes, well, I was going to ask our town administrator, Ashley, to also speak to the Arts and Cultural Center, the James Island Arts and Cultural Center, the progress we've been making.
Yeah, and I have a few pictures because it is starting to look great. Let's see. So you've all probably seen the sign out. This is kind of what the new sign will look like. The town did award this renovation contract to Lockridge Builders. The renovations are minor inside, new flooring, interior paint, flooring and furniture. There is a large change order, however, with the HVAC system and some associated structural and roof work that we are having to do. Fortunately, we recently received a MASC, the Municipal Association of South Carolina, awarded us a hometown economic grant for $25,000. So that will help offset some of that cost. Just some progress photos. As you can see, it's starting to look wide open with that media center out of the middle. Flooring has been laid, first coat of paint, and just sort of refresher on the layout that was approved. Down here, we have the education and meeting room. Be a great flex space. We have a lot of organizations using the new town hall, which is wonderful, but sometimes we can't even accommodate all of them. So this will help with that. The art gallery space over here and in the middle, and then area for history and a research room, and then also a multimedia area and a tutoring space as well. We are fortunate that Mary Edna Frazier, a local artist, is going to be donating some of her beautiful artwork. This is an example. And so we'll have some of these sort of reconfigurable, movable partition walls for the gallery space. And then again, just some really multi-purpose type furniture that will go into the space as well. The main work is supposed to be completed by the end of February. Furniture installs planned for the end of February as well. The new HVAC work should wrap up by the end of March. We do have a good bit more work to do with the programming side for the artifacts and the history. We are working with the State Museum and going to be reaching out to some other folks across the state for some exhibits and content for that area. We'll need to hire an on-site coordinator to sort of manage and divide up the different activities of our stakeholders, with a tentative early opening for early summer of this year. And that is all I have.
Well, thank you, Ashley. Are there any questions for Ashley or about the Arts Center or the development at the corner of Camp and Folly? All right. Well, Jenny, I'll give it back to you, Councilman.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Woolsey. The next thing is from Councilwoman Jackson. There was a presentation by Mark Wilbert. Is he on the line yet, Ashley?
Yes, he is.
Great. Thank you, Chairwoman. I'm just happy to be able to introduce Mark Wilbert, who is the Resilience Officer for the City of Charleston. I'm sure y'all have read multiple articles and maybe some, other social media or organizational updates about the project that Mark is the city's liaison to bring into fruition with the Army Corps of Engineers. They call it the seawall. I think of it as an innovative protection system for the city of Charleston. And we have an update that Mark's going to bring to you. And then we would encourage all citizens of James Island to follow along with its progress and continue to give us your input and, be part of the process, because water is something that we all enjoy, but also have to be cognizant of as we go into the future for the Low Country. So thanks.
Thank you, council member. Ashley, did you want to allow me to do some screen sharing here and I'll pull something up real quick, or I can just talk through it?
Yes, you should be able to share your screen.
There you go. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody. And what I'd like to do very quickly is just, like I said, take you through this presentation just as quickly as I can. I know you got a lot on your agenda. What you're looking at here is really what we're talking about. So this happens about 89 times a year, right there on the corner of Lockwood. That right there represents an 8-foot tide, but it looks very similar to about a 7-foot 4-inch tide. Will look very similar to that. So we're really talking about protecting the peninsula and how we protect everything that is on the peninsula, all the resources that serve the entire region. So where are we? And I've highlighted some of the things that I think are really important to the folks in James Island and in and around James Island. So the tentative selective plan that you're looking at right here, the yellow line just represents where the Army Corps of Engineers is proposing putting a wall. That was in April. We're going to see another plan come out probably next month, and we'll have a big, long discussion about that. But two things that are really important, I think, to this group. One is the environmental compliance. The Army Corps of Engineers puts a lot of work into environmental compliance, and I was listening intently to the conversations earlier today. But the other thing that's probably the most important to the James Island community is the potential impacts to surrounding communities, and that as well. That study should be out. All of this is being evaluated by the Army and run through computer models and computer programs around the country. And we should have those results back in February. And that'll tell us what happens when this water comes in. Does it end up negatively impacting any of the surrounding communities? And we'll know the answer to that probably in February. Very quickly, this is the bulk of the whole study right here. If you look at the two pictures real quick, without project, the Army Corps of Engineers, and again, using their computer models with all that they've studied, they're projecting that the peninsula is going to see flooding and damage from storm surge to the peninsula at least one, if not more times throughout that period. And we all know that the sea level rise will eventually make the peninsula look like that over a period of time as well. Without project, or with project off to the right, you can see that the wall will protect all of that. And all those little dots you see there are critical infrastructure, whether they're fire stations or police stations or hospitals or something that's critical for services, not just to the citizens of Charleston, but also to the entire region. 3 hospitals, obviously a medical university. We've got a lot of resources on the peninsula that are being used by everyone in the entire region. For the Army, for the federal government, it all comes down to this right here, net benefits and benefit cost ratio. These are annual benefits. So the Army has determined through their economic benefits about $88 million a year over a 50-year period. Every year, that's the benefits that the city of Charleston and the region will see from going forward with this project. Gives us right now a benefit cost ratio of about 2.3. The new optimized plan coming out should be a lot better than that. Hopefully it gets up around 2.5, which is what you really need to be competitive, the Office of Management and Budget. So where are we on the timeline? Everybody wants to know the timeline. So as I've said, the plan came out in 2020. We just went through an agency decision milestone. The new plan will be out in this coming February, next month. The Army Corps will be holding a citizen engagement period. Our final input to the report will be July, August timeframe of 21. Final study recommendation will be the fall of 21. And then if it all goes forward, and that's going to be up to the mayor, city council, the citizens of the city, if we send it forward in the fall of 21, we'll get a signed chief's report back in 2022. We'll start the design in 2024, and construction optimistically would start around 2027, but it's probably, that's pretty early, but 2027 would be about the earliest I could predict it would start. You've probably heard about the Wagner and Ball work. So what they've done is they've taken a line and they've said, well, let's expand it and look at an area. So this is something that we're going through right now. We'll have the final Wagner and Ball report out probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And obviously when we get that, we'll make it public. And so this will be a lot of discussion around this right here will be how we might want to move. A lot of people early on got focused on the line, but really the line is there to determine the amount of benefits that you're protecting and then what the cost is to protect those benefits. Very quickly, I wanted to show this. So Cedar Rapids, Iowa is another city. We're following about 5 cities around the country. They're going through this. Cedar Rapids is really doing this pretty innovatively. They've taken over the design for the Army Corps of Engineers. And so I've been talking with them pretty regularly. They sent me some slides, but here you see a street, right? Looks pretty much like a regular street. And that's what it looks like when the wall actually goes up. It's a removable floodgates that can go in and out. These are things that we're considering perhaps through parts of our peninsula as well. It just makes it look kind of normal when the wall's not erected, and then you're able to erect the wall before the storms come. This is now, this one here, this is actually built now. This is already done and finished or underway. This is a concept drawing of what their team is working on for the future. And you can see what they're really trying to do is the same we hope to be able to do, which is build this wall into the fabric of the city so it doesn't just look like a wall, but it looks like and becomes an amenity while at the same time providing flood protection for the citizens of Charleston. And really this is kind of, again, I started with a picture, and this is, now this is a little higher tide, and this is just coming over from the Ashley River bridges right here looking down from West Edge. This is our future if we don't do something, okay? And we saw, like I said, we saw this about 6 to 7 times this past year. We set a record. That's predicted to be up to 15 times by 2030, and then it just continues to go up after that. We're following right on track with the trend, exactly on what they've predicted is about the flooding that we're seeing, not just on the peninsula, but certainly throughout the city. But the peninsula, because of the number of resources it has on it that serves the entire region, the Army Corps of Engineers, I'm pretty confident they're going to find federal interest in this and a benefit cost ratio, which would move them to commit to cost sharing this project at a 65%, their cost, 35% to the city. And barring any questions, that's my presentation, but I'd love to take questions or talk to me offline because I know we're getting late.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you, Carol, for putting that on the agenda. If there aren't any questions, I will make sure that we have his contact information for anyone who has any follow-up on that, and that we make this presentation part of our agenda packet for the meeting minutes. The next item, Mr. Appel has a couple things on here and wants to talk about our Greenbelt application.
Absolutely, and this is an idea that our chair has championed, and I think it's a very good one. This is designed to address the well-known stormwater issues that we have in the Central Park Basin. We call it the Wamba Basin, and this is, a Greenbelt application for the acquisition of approximately 3.65 acre piece of property that we hope to utilize for stormwater retention, as well as some potential green space as well. And at our real estate committee meeting last week, which I serve on, we moved through and approved unanimously a resolution that moves forward with the city seeking this Greenbelt application. So we're in the process of doing that, and this is just one of many things that we have in the mix right now to help improve the stormwater situation in that part of James Island. So progress is underway, and we look forward to hopefully securing that piece of property through the Greenbelt process. And if anyone else on the call has some more information or wants to add into that, by all means.
And this was actually born out of a walkthrough we were doing with Sandy Sin, where we literally looked down at the end of the street and said, hey, this would be a great passive park instead of another apartment complex. And we called the realtor on the sign. And in fact, that seller was a willing conservation seller, which is always what we need for Greenbelt program. And so and the city has taken ownership. So thank you to our city councilman for kind of spearheading this, but they are applying. The Greenbelt application deadline is the 31st of this month. And so that process has moved along very quickly. So from standing on the ground in June, looking at an empty piece of land to now acquiring that for a passive park is moving pretty well. So thank you all for being a part of that.
Yay.
Yeah. Yes, sir, Mr. Milliken.
Yes, I have a question. If at some point we could see a map of the proposed plan for this, that would be very helpful. I'm particularly interested in seeing how the walking trail might link into other access points that are nearby.
All right.
So if you have a map of that and can share it, I would really appreciate it.
I am going to try to pull that up on my GIS screen on the other side here. So I'm not looking at you, Ross, but I'll let you take the TMDL item now.
Awesome. I appreciate you handling that aspect of it, Jenny, because we'd be here all night if I had to figure out a way to share my screen and do all that. So thank you for that. Unfortunately, the James Island Creek has received the TMDL designation under the Clean Water Act, DHEC, for impaired water quality due to a lot of sources, but fecal pollution sources. And we've been working for, gosh, if it hasn't been a year, it's getting there on a joint multi-jurisdictional effort to come up with solutions for this problem. And we've talked a lot about watershed plans, DHEC 319 grants. We're attacking this from a regulatory perspective. We're doing really everything you can think of to try to get this situation under control. It's complicated. It involves 2 different utilities, 3 different local governments. It's complicated, but we're making progress. And to that end, we have secured a memorandum of agreement between the town of James Island, Charleston County, and the city of Charleston. And Matt Fountain is on our line and can speak a little bit more in detail about what this agreement involves. But generally speaking, this is just the framework for some cost sharing and other logistical support as this work continues, and we go from the kind of concept level to the action level. So that's what we have going on there.
Can everyone see this screen? Just give me a nod. Garrett, can you see? Excellent. All right, so this is from Folly Road, and here's Maybank Highway. As you zoom in, the Grand Oaks subdivision plan that's right now in front of the city is this power line easement parcel that's right here. Here's Stephen Drive, here's Howell. If you were to come down this way, you have Central Park Road at the south end here. And so this is all part of the Wambaw Basin. Here is the municipal golf course. A ton of work was done during the redesign to help facilitate this outfall. But what we're hoping to do in the parcel we're talking about acquiring is this one right here on Howell Avenue at the very end. It's this parcel in particular. We had also looked at possibly acquiring this one, but the timeline was just really short to try to negotiate with another owner. If you look right here to the right across Fleming Road is the tennis courts. And so you can create, being creative, you'd have to get an easement for access, but there is a lot of opportunity for walkability in this area. There are a ton of houses, particularly along these roads that intersect. And so the city did find value in being able to create a water feature that could retain as well as a potential park.
Well, I think this is great. I think it's a great idea. My wish would be, of course, that we could somehow link it into Riverland Drive. Because if you could do that, you could access the county park. You could also have a nice cut through potentially over to McLeod Plantation at that point. But I'm just trying to think a little bit outside the box on this. And I know there might be some logistical issues there, but that little tiny strip of land that goes over to Riverland there is pretty cool. I know it's not part of this, but if we could get some sort of an agreement with the developer of Riverland Oaks, that would be a fabulous feature to add to this. And I think it would make it extremely attractive to have that additional access to a potential multi-use path that people have been talking about as part of the Riverland Drive plan.
Absolutely. And to that point, I mean, the issues of connectivity really enhance the Greenbelt application scoring. And so every opportunity to do that will be looked at. And so I will definitely make sure that we add that component. I mean, as well, we have a future potential sidewalk project coming on Fleming, as well as a sidewalk project down on Central Park. And so any ability to try to connect these roads is essential, and we should be looking at it. So thank you so much for bringing that up. All right, I'm going to stop sharing that unless there's any other questions and move on. Thank you so much. I did want to give Keith just a minute to address some of the around the same area, some Maybank improvements the city's looking at around the golf course in particular in slowing traffic down that really comes off quickly from Johns Island off the Stono Bridge. Keith, are you able to speak to that?
I'll do my best. As you all know, the city had made requests regarding Maybank and Riverland through the CTC process that was funded to study that particular area. Because I was notified by 3 of our council members regarding bringing that issue back up and trying to identify a solution at that intersection. I want to reiterate from a staff level at the city, and I think I'm very comfortable in saying this at the county after my conversations with Richard Turner, that as staff, we have explored all the varying different options there. I think we are definitely looking for a consensus from the varying different electeds as to how to proceed before moving forward with anything. And so we definitely would stress that need. Before we do that, I reiterated that in a conversation with Secretary Hall. As some of you know, Deputy Secretary Colvin was kind enough to engage city and county staff on the issue as well. In fact, he made a commitment to be a part of our city county SCDOT District 6 staff regular coordinating meeting that's coming up to discuss again. So again, just stress that we definitely do want to see better safety there. There are varying different options, but there's also give and takes with those varying options as well. And so better understanding of where consensus is in that regard and how we proceed as staff, I think would be extremely helpful. That being said, there is an area that's about 1,390 feet from that intersection that we do feel there should be consensus around better safety, and that's right at the entrance of the golf course. What's there right now is not acceptable from a safety perspective, and acknowledging the work that went into being able to the city's request for CTC funding at the Riverland Terrace, and then the county's amazing help in leveraging that funding to get Complete Streets dollars from BCD COG to make what was a $200,000 project into a $1.2 million project is in many cases what we would like to see a better form of at the entrance of the golf course. It is within the bounds of a quarter mile in terms of signal spacing. And I feel comfortable with saying Troy Miller is very much supportive of this, seeing some type of hawk signaling at that location and better accommodation for crossing there, I think is something that we would hope you all could assist in pushing for with the state DOT. Up until now, we've gotten a resounding no, and your assistance there would be extremely helpful. You know, I'm grateful for the road safety study that was done along Maybank and in spring of 2019, because it was able to consolidate a number of the priorities in the Maybank corridor. But the only reason why that moved and was because somebody died. And so I would just implore you, as we try to navigate doing better about transportation for all modes, where there's an opportunity to effectively make some change proactively, your assistance in that regard would be greatly appreciated.
Great. Thank you so much, Keith. I appreciate that. And we will. I am a proponent of that hawk light there and improving that crossing. So whatever I can do to help facilitate that with our staff, we'll make sure that we get together. So I will have that on the task list for our next meeting to hopefully have an update by then. But Thank you so much, Keith. I did want to turn over the last item to Ms. Milliken, our new PSD member, regarding discussion of the urban growth boundary on James Island.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Ashley, are you able to share your screen of this urban growth boundary map?
Yes,
That would be great. Thank you. Just quickly, I know it's late and I know everybody's ready to go, but this is, actually quite important. And from the PSD perspective, which of course would be my perspective at this point, this could really be concerning and have a big impact. Ashley, do you have that?
I am working on it.
Okay, and at the December meeting of the Rethink Folly Road Committee, City Planning came, and I know many of you were there, and showed proposed changes to the urban growth boundary on James Island. And if you can look really quickly, the blue line is what they would like to change it to, or maybe proposing to change it to. The green line is what it currently is. And just real quickly about the UGB, or the urban growth boundary, this was set in place a couple of decades ago by the county and the city. Mount Pleasant has had one. Inside the urban growth boundary, it's suburban, it's urban, it's higher density, it's industrial, medium to high density uses, more impactful development. Outside the urban growth boundary is more rural, tidal marshes, wetlands, agricultural uses, more rural roads, can be dotted with historical areas, and where we'd like to see low density development. Now, we know that the county has actually removed their urban growth boundary from James Island, but the city's remains. And the concern right now is that the city is looking at an update in their Charleston City Plan, their 10-year revision. So when I saw Christopher bring this, my thought was, will this be part of the update or the revision of the city plan? And just quickly, their guiding principles are protecting historic diversity, water first. Where is the water? If you look at the city of Charleston preliminary FEMA flood zones, south of Grimble Extension and on to the east, really where this change is all flood zone. And, we all have friends that live out here. Ocean Neighbors is here, of course, Spyglass. And there are a couple of large properties that this change will really impact. So from a PSD perspective, most of the pump stations in this area are PSD pump stations. We have one on Successionville Road that's right there on the urban growth boundary line. There's actually a upgrade project going on Pump Station 33. I think it's, I don't have the price tag in front of me, but over the next 5 years, the PSD is projected to have a $15 million in capital improvement projects. So, it impacts all of our governments. It impacts traffic. It impacts drainage projects. As you know, the county's doing a big drainage project right now on Grimble Road. I'm sure everybody's seen that. So I would just propose and have people think about and look at maybe putting this proposed change off for 5 years and look at it again when the city does their 5-year update, which would be, in 2025. But I just felt like with the City Planning Commission having looked at the draft of the new plan last week, this is brewing. It's about to come before City Council. So I did want to bring it to the Intergovernmental Council as information. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Susan. I appreciate you, your proactive approach on that. And If there is no further business, I know we are coming up on an hour and a half and I don't want to take anybody else's time. The only thing I did want to add, and I literally got this information while we were sitting here, is that there is an island pharmacy. I will certainly circulate this information when it becomes available, that is going to be providing the vaccine for COVID. I know that's a concern to a lot of people. So as soon as DHEC begins their process of pushing this out to various sort of mobile or remote locations outside of hospitals, we will make sure to push that information out as well. So we're thankful to have that coming. All right, if there's nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn? Kathy, you going to make the motion for me? And Carol, will you second?
I will.
Great. Everyone approve?
So moved.
All right.
Thank
Thank you all. Have a great night.